this summit on regional economic integration, the leader of Rwanda and the leader of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's an historic moment, I think. President Tshisekedi has been in this country, and I know he's had detailed discussions with you, Mr. President. And I think this bodes well. People are taking it as a very positive signal about the prospects for regional integration across Africa and also stabilization. Now, this year we are celebrating 20 years of the East African community, but we also have to mark and commemorate a much more somber event, the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. In less than a week's time, I believe people from around the world and your own citizens will be marking that. And I know at the same time, the people of Congo have also lost millions of people since the depredations of the 19th century, the looting expeditions and the effects of colonialism. And more recently, over the last 25 years, we've seen a succession of wars in the country which have debilitated Congo and have caused deep personal tragedy to that country and debilitated its capacity to generate its economy. So I think at this critical time, I wanted to get straight to this issue. You have, the two of you have sat down to talk about integration and stabilization. And I know you, President Tshisekedi, as part of your election campaign, said that your job as president is to end armed groups, the militias that have preyed on the Congolese people for so long, and close them down in Congo and usher in a new era of peace and stability. Now, could I first ask you, as a host, President Kagame, you've heard President Tshisekedi's promises to his own people, and I'm sure you've discussed this. And for many years, we've had this recurring problem of militia activity, particularly in eastern Congo, but across the country. I wondered what your government and your network within the East African community can do to deal with this problem.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm very glad that we have President Tshisekedi with us from the beginning in this forum, and it means a lot to us in Rwanda, and guests to the attendees of the forum and everyone. But to the point, I think you described it well from the start, how the problems, the tragedies of this region, whether it is Rwanda's or DRC's or generally the region, the tragedy we have seen in the many years past, are going to be overcome by not blame game, pointing fingers at each other, internal, external, because let's face it, you gave it a history that dates back into colonial times.
Yes.
That is a fact, it's real. It feeds into the other failures we experienced of our own, yes, meaning the African societies, leaders, across the board. So all that we've known, we've experienced, we've gone through, and I think so it suffices that today we look at the real way of getting forward and moving forward and finding solutions to the many problems instead of that. So, but it comes to a number of things, including what are our politics like? How are our people, the people of Rwanda, DRC, the region, the continent, being transformed. What is it that we can do together to actually bring about the transformation that we want, that has a meaning to our people? And we can't be thinking about that without thinking of all these kinds of root causes and the current causes of continued instability in different parts of our region, whether it is DRC or my country or other countries around. So the most important thing is, do we have leaders with this kind of good politics ready to work for our own people and bring them to participate? The citizens must participate in these things that in the end result into addressing these problems. We must also have leaders who are ready to cooperate, to work with each other. Because my problems in Rwanda, in many cases, end up being problems of DRC and the people of DRC, and vice versa. So we can't address that without cooperation, without working together, without really touching on the real root causes and the real issues of the day that we have to address. And there are possibilities with us, many opportunities to be able to actually address some of the things ourselves. There are inefficiencies, there is lack of resources and many things, but we have sufficient resources within ourselves, among ourselves, to actually call upon to deal with these matters. So that is where I would begin and start the discussion from. And President TSHISEKEDI has expressions he has made, the commitments he has made to his own people and to the people in the region. We have to believe him until we so we really have to start with that. We believe him, and we extend our hand of cooperation to him as he does his to us, and we see how far we can go.
So you think we're talking about a new era?
Absolutely. That's what I see, and let's test it and see where it takes us.
Monsieur le Président, can I get you to set out your views on this? Because, as I said, you did make this commitment, as a solemn commitment, on behalf of your party, the UDPS, to shut down these militias. So far in your discussions with President Kagame, do you feel too that we're at the start of a new era of cooperation in the region?
Bien, merci. Je remercie au passage les organisateurs de m'avoir fait cet honneur. Nous partons toujours chez nous dans notre entendement sur un principe. C'est celui selon lequel nos pays resteront voisins pour toute la vie. Et nous ne sommes que des acteurs spontanés. Nous passons à un moment donné, mais nos pays resteront voisins. Et donc, se faire la guerre, entretenir des tensions inutiles nous offre une énorme potentialité de gaz que nous pouvons exploiter afin, comme énergie évidemment, afin de booster notre industrie dans la région. Je pense au barrage de la Ruzizi que nous pouvons faire, le Burundi, le Rwanda et la RDC, afin évidemment d'aller sur ce genre de choses. Et ensuite, nous pourrons diversifier notre économie parce que ces peuples vivent ensemble depuis des siècles et continueront de vivre ensemble. Donc il y a déjà plein de choses qu'ils font qui demandent à être structurées davantage. Voilà dans le sens dans lequel nous nous inscrivons pour évidemment ramener la paix d'une part et le développement d'autre part.
Thank you. Monsieur le Président, in the last week you've been doing some shuttle diplomacy. You've been in Luanda visiting President João Lourenço. You've been in Kampala visiting President Museveni, and now you're here with us in Rwanda. You talked about the way in which these regional conflicts exacerbate tension in the region. And some of them, in fact, a lot of them have been played out in Congo. And now on Monday, President Kagame referred to the dispute between Rwanda and Uganda as a political matter. And I think part of that matter does seem to be connected with Congo and certainly historical, a historical connection with Congo. And I'm just wondering whether we can use this moment with you two leaders together to make a plea to end this logjam because of the damage it's doing to the sort of continental economic integration we want to see, and also the danger that we could see a dysfunction at a political and a security level. Would it help if this conference made a call for a regional summit between yourselves and President Museveni to try and resolve this security impasse that the region seems to be facing at the moment? If you could say, represent what President Museveni thinks about this, that would help us all, I think.
Bien. Évidemment, lorsqu'on est responsable d'un des pays de la région, on ne peut manquer aborder cela avec son homologue. Je l'ai fait avec le président Kagame et également avec le président Museveni. Mais vous me permettrez de garder secret les conversations que nous avons eues. Ce n'est pas le lieu ni le moment d'en parler. Mais je reste convaincu, pour avoir entendu les deux personnalités, que c'est un passage difficile, un moment à passer qui est difficile, mais que nous n'irons pas jusqu'à l'escalade de la violence entre nos deux pays. De toutes les façons, la RDC est là, elle offre ses bons offices pour le cas où il y a certaines difficultés que nous pourrions éventuellement aplanir. Parce que notre vision, elle est celle de construire des ponts entre nous et non des murs. Voilà.
Thank you. President Kagame, can I get your views on this?
Yes, my views are that if problems like these would be solved by summits, we wouldn't be having any problem at all. We have had many summits.
With little progress.
With little or no progress. But on the serious side, you see, we want to be serious with matters of stability, of development, and we can't achieve that without, as I said earlier on, without cooperation, without working together, without really focusing on the common interests of our countries, of our people, which we should be representing. At the same time, it's unfortunate that some of these serious matters, even efforts we all try to put in, are undermined by petty things, for example, if you think that you don't like President Kagame of Rwanda because you think what should happen in Rwanda is supposed to be dependent on you, on your views, on your decisions, and yet you are from outside. This is bad politics, and it characterizes some of the things we have had to deal with. And we have openly stated that it doesn't matter anybody from outside, whether you like me or you don't like me. the President Kagame is here as the president of Rwanda, as a business of Rwandans. It's their business. If they want Kagame, they will have him. If they don't want him, they remove him. Doesn't matter whether. So, and I have told some of these friends of ours that it's actually very difficult, next to impossible, to imagine that you don't like Kagame, so you will change him and put there someone you want. It's impossible. But people don't want to hear that. So, therefore, as President TSHISEKEDI said, it suffices if we chose to concentrate on things that matter to us as individual countries, as well things that matter to all of us together, working together, and then put aside some of these other issues. I think it's the kind of politics that, in fact, the problem you earlier again mentioned about Rwanda and Uganda, yes, there is a small component, just in terms of happening, that brings in DRC.
Yes.
But the root cause of misunderstandings between two countries, Rwanda and DRC, which are supposed to be really brotherly countries.
The worst quarrels are often within the families, aren't
Absolutely.
they? Yeah.
But I think it must come to a point where the family must sit and realistically resolve these issues.
But if not summits, I take your point. As a journalist, I've attended many pointless summits in my life. But if not summits, what? I mean, bilateral, close bilateral consultations. I know your foreign minister has been very clear on your position on the issue. Equally, the foreign minister of Uganda has set out. What mechanisms do you see in place to resolve this?
Continuing to talk about our problems, because I think we exhaust the kind of logic of continuing to undermine each other and come to a point where we find the best thing is to cooperate and work together and accept each other. Right. Or to say the least, if we can't work together as brothers, sisters, as friends, we can decide to give each other peace and forget about what we have to do together, but above all, avoid quarrels that may just be destructive, because no one would win or benefit from any serious quarrel about this. So, but if we forget one another and let each, go about their businesses the way they want, that would be the second choice. Second to being good friends and working together and so on. In
a spirit of cooperation. Monsieur le Président, I wanted to come up with a positive note on regional integration. Your country sits on the majestic Congo River, which has the force of its water, has the capacity to generate electricity for probably half the continent of Africa. We've seen a succession of initiatives trying to dam that river at Inga, and we've now got Puti Inga, and Inga 1, Inga 2, and so on. What are your hopes for hydroelectricity in Congo, and finally launching the great Inga project, Inga Dam project, and other projects I know you've been talking about, both to protect the environment in Congo, but also to meet the growing need for electricity across your vast country?
Merci. L'hydroélectricité, évidemment, c'est une technologie dans laquelle le monde doit s'impliquer parce que, vous l'avez dit, il y a des besoins de préservation de l'environnement. Et le Congo offre par son fleuve d'énormes potentialités dans ce sens. nous avons dans le développement de l'énergie du barrage d'Inga, enfin d'Inga en général, une possibilité de distribuer de l'énergie à toute l'Afrique. Et donc, nous avons une vision globale, une approche globale de la question. Nous en avons discuté avec nos partenaires, j'en ai parlé avec le président du Rwanda, avec aussi Madame la présidente d'Éthiopie, pour voir ensemble, surtout l'Éthiopie. Vous savez qu'en ce moment, elle est en proie à une sorte de tension avec l'Égypte au sujet du barrage qu'elle s'apprête à construire. Mais là, je pense que si Inga se développe dans toutes ses phases, donc jusqu'à la phase 8, nous aurons 44 000 mégawatts à fournir de capacité. Et donc, à ce moment, le problème en Éthiopie ne se poserait pas. Donc, elle l'a trouvé intéressante, cette proposition, donc on va y aller. D'autre part, nous avons plus de 200 sites à l'intérieur du Congo qui peuvent également fournir de l'énergie. À peu près mis ensemble, on arriverait à 60 000 mégawatts. Donc, vous voyez qu'il y a d'énormes possibilités. Et au sujet de l'eau, qui est aussi une des batailles à venir, je pense qu'au niveau, on peut réfléchir à des solutions du style au niveau de l'embouchure, juste un petit peu avant la rencontre avec les eaux de l'océan. Il y a moyen de capter cette eau du fleuve et de l'envoyer via des pipelines à des pays qui en ont besoin, plutôt que d'aller dans ce qu'on a proposé à un moment donné au Tchad, c'est-à-dire le fait de dévier le fleuve Ubangui, ce qui va avoir des conséquences, y compris sur l'énergie, notamment les tourbières qu'il y a dans la forêt équatoriale et qui nous servent au monde entier de poumons, donc pour absorber.
The two presidents, it's an historic opportunity to ask these two presidents sitting on the same platform together. It hasn't ever happened before, so you can be part of history. There is a question coming there on my right in the column straight ahead. Could we have your question? Could you state where you're from and give us a brief question directed to either the president, one of the presidents, or both of them? Do we have an awkward silence? There must be some people out there who have to pluck up the wherewithal. The gentleman there in the second row, please. He's got his hand up. Thank you so much. Please state where you're from.
My name is Bassem Loukil. I'm from Tunisia. The question is regarding the regional integration. How much influence will the regional conflicts have eventually on the completion of the African Free Trade Area or Agreement, since it seems like almost all neighbors have some type of conflicts that hinder either trade or investments or movement of people. So far, I think half of the African nations have signed up for the Free Trade Agreement, and yet we keep on talking about regional conflicts, neighboring conflicts. How much will that be of a hinder to the completion of the Free Trade Agreement? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions in this round? There's a hand up there. Yes, on my left. Please take the microphone.
Thank you for giving me the microphone. I actually was about to ask the same question, and I'm asking it as a businessman.
Okay.
I'm not.
Please, could you say where you're from?
My name is William, and I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Thank you.
And I'm asking to President Kagame that I commend for his achievement here. But yes, I know that it's a big challenge for you to try to convince the other countries to change from being countries as such, because when you look at it, Europe today is it's different presidents that are like governors of different entities and are working together. African countries, to travel from one African country to another is a big issue. We're talking about conflict, but before we even go to conflict, it's very difficult to just cross from one border to another. You have been complaining yesterday of the fact that it's a challenge to convince your colleagues. I want to know what they tell you. What is their problem? Why aren't they ready to start opening those borders? Please, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President,
Yeah.
clear question there. What's the problem?
I know the problem, but I can't find the answer.
Well, identifying the problem is always the first step.
Yes, but I'll probably speak to the two questions combined.
Please, yes. We're tight for time. Yeah.
First, the conflicts inevitably affect regional integration.
Yes.
But one, I want to see it as having problems which we must try and address simultaneously, rather than just saying, let's address one, then we move to another. While we try to prevent or resolve conflicts that exist, we, at the same time, have to be working on integration. Yes. Because there are aspects of integration that can make progress even with the conflicts that we have. In fact, the beauty of it, well, I'm not talking about the beauty of conflict. I'm talking about the beauty of having such a multi-pronged approach. Yeah. Is that we have seen already the people of any country in our region or beyond. The African people, for them, they are ahead of their leaders in terms of understanding the importance of integration or even practicing it. Yeah. In fact, even in some conflict areas, people are working together, doing business, there's trade going on, even with bullets flying over their heads. They are busy doing that. So it's a responsibility of governments, of leaders, political leaders, to make sure that this should not be the case, or it should not be normalized, that we can keep on conflicts and then okay, and say, there is integration taking place after all, so why don't we? No, I think we need to tackle both, prevent conflicts, or stop them, at the same time encourage regional integration, because that is what should be. And if you look at the African continent, in fact, I didn't say that I did not convince African leaders to the importance of regional integration. I was only referring to the difficulties where, for example, I have to, in fact, commend the African leaders who, in the first place, have been behind the thrust of seeing regional integration, of seeing the CFTA. They are the ones, the leaders are the ones who sat and said, we know we must have this continental free trade area, because they wanted it. They knew the importance. But this is in spite of the fact that conflicts have been there, or others will come, and so on and so forth. So leaders should go beyond just dealing with one issue at a time, but rather address across the board.
Across the panorama of concerns.
That's what we need to do. So, one, I agree, conflicts affect regional integration, and we need to put more time and energy and everything we have to make sure that we reduce on or eliminate conflicts. Same time, I encourage regional integration. In fact, one helps the other.
Reinforcing.
Trade, business to happen, and these things help reduce on the conflicts or the causes of conflict once people are busy with the most serious issues.
Thanks.
So that is the most important. And on the other one, I don't think there is, I don't think there is anything wrong with the leaders as such cutting across. Yes, there are places you can say they have a problem, there are others that don't have much in terms of problem. And so we try to see how, again, come back to the point of working together. But the other part, let me leave it to my brother, friend, and President TSHISEKEDI to say something about it.
Monsieur le Président, what is the problem, in your view?
D'abord, félicitations au président Kagame pour cette initiative du libre-échange qui, de toutes les façons, est appelée un jour en Afrique à se matérialiser. Il n'y a rien à faire, il faut tendre vers là. Mais évidemment, il y a ces problèmes posés par M. Bassam, si mes souvenirs sont bons, si je me rappelle du nom, à propos évidemment des conflits. Évidemment, les conflits minent sérieusement le développement de l'Afrique. Mais je crois que la résolution, elle ne peut pas se faire, je ne crois pas qu'elle puisse se faire d'Addis Abeba, siège de l'institution de l'Union africaine. Je crois plutôt que les sous-régions aujourd'hui ont acquis une capacité, une influence, j'allais dire, importante dans l'Afrique. Je vais l'illustrer par 3 exemples rapidement. Au Congo, mon pays, c'est grâce, je dois dire, à l'intervention de la sous-région que nous avons évité un grave conflit post-électoral. Elle a joué un grand rôle. Et d'ailleurs, même lorsque, à l'époque, dans l'opposition, nous allions frapper à la porte de nos partenaires internationaux, tous nous renvoyaient à la sous-région, à nos partenaires sous-régionaux, pour essayer de débloquer la situation. À la CEDEAO, même chose. Souvenez-vous, lorsqu'il y a eu le fameux coup d'État manqué après la destitution du président Compaoré, c'est la sous-région qui est intervenue pour mettre fin à ça et revenir à l'ordre démocratique. Même pour la SADC. La SADC, il y a eu la crise au Zimbabwe, c'est encore... donc, vous voyez, je crois qu'il faut accentuer les rôles des sous-régions et au même moment travailler sur, j'allais dire, une sorte d'égalité de critères, un peu à la manière de l'Union européenne lorsqu'elle s'apprêtait, par exemple, à intégrer de nouveaux pays. Les pays qui étaient déjà en Union avaient atteint un certain niveau et exigeaient certains critères aussi aux adhérents pour commencer ensemble. Je crois qu'il faut aller comme ça, étape par étape. Et je pense qu'à ce rythme, nous allons arriver régionalement, localement, comme ça, à éradiquer tous ces conflits et à faire comprendre à nos populations le besoin de l'unité et de la mise en commun de ce que nous avons de positif plutôt qu'autre chose. Voilà.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. The clock has declared war on us and is about to beat us, unfortunately. We have another few items, so it remains to me to thank you both profusely. Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. And may I wish you well on behalf of the Forum in your new work in Congo. I know you've got a very difficult few weeks ahead of you with the internal political, shall I say, negotiations. But from talking to your team, I understand that you're on top of things, and we look forward to seeing the new Congo under your leadership. Thank you so much for attending this conference. Sincere thanks. Thanks. Monsieur President, thank you so much for hosting.